Hey guys, it's Akemi with Akemi Kai Inner Beauty, and I like to talk about manifestation, law of assumption, and inner work. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about how to use manifesting in relationships to improve relationships. So if you see me looking this way, it's because I made a little of some notes because I usually talk for so long, so I wanted to try to make some notes so that I don't just ramble. Okay, so actually the reason that I wanted to make this video today is because I like to scroll TikTok, and I just am kind of realizing that, okay, so most of the English content on social media right now is just like pouring out of the States, right? It's all Americans. You don't usually see people in your newsfeed from other countries. I'm personally outside of the States, so I'm just getting inundated nonstop on TikTok with like American content creators, and it's just been making me realize that just all the dating and relationship advice that is so prevalent right now on social media, like it's all coming out of the States, and it's all coming from like American content creators, and so it's all coming from American context and American society's thinking and their social reality at this time. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to deconstruct that and then show how to use law of assumption manifesting to improve your relationships. And I just want to, in general, advise that you don't listen to modern so-called dating or relationship advice that's coming out of the States. And I'm going to give you my reasons why I think that it's a better idea for your relationships not to listen to kind of like the general thinking that's being just kind of like perpetuated out there on social media right now, because it's not good relationship advice. And I just want to put this out there that most of those content creators don't have good relationships. They're not like in lifelong, happy, healthy relationships with another person that could come online and attest to the fact that that person has great relationship skills and that their relationship is really great and that the two people in it are really happy. And I just want to put that out there. Like, you know, you've heard this before, right? You wouldn't go to the gym and hire a personal trainer that was like obese and had a bad diet. Like, you shouldn't be following people's advice who don't have success personally in the area that you want to achieve success. And I mean, I don't know, I think it was probably 15 years ago for me that I realized that it was kind of when the whole American dating coach thing kind of took off, and all of a sudden, like, everybody and their dog is like a self-proclaimed like relationship coach. And I remember realizing like that some guy that I had been watching some of his videos, like, he was single, and I was like, why am I taking like dating advice from a guy who isn't even in a long-term relationship, let alone married for like 10 or 15 years or something, that actually knows what works? Do you know what I mean? So that, I think, like, in terms of my perspective on that, it's just like out of control right now. So the kind of like culture right now in America, the view on relationships, it's very negative, right? Like, women are really frustrated with men and men are really frustrated with women, and you've got like this, a lot of stuff on social media that's like, for women, it's just like they're angry. Like, they're really bitter and they're really angry, and they're like, why can't men step up? And like, they're just lashing out. And then if you watch on the same side, if you watch the male content, men are like divorced, you know, had a really bad experience, like lost custody of their kids, tons of the money they worked for their whole career got taken, you know, like, they're sour and they're unhappy and they're bitter, and like, women can never be made happy. So you've got like these two very unhappy collectives of people kind of making a lot of content to coach their own gender. And And it's really interesting because it's like broken people, broken relationships, people who aren't good at relationships, people who don't have good relationships, making content to coach men or coach women about the opposite sex, which they don't actually understand. So this has been just really, I think, troubling me for the last bunch of years, and I want to just throw some alternative ideas out there about how you might use manifestation as a technique to improve your relationships with the opposite sex or the same sex or anyone in your life. How do we improve our relationships with other people? Children, friends, acquaintances, the person that you just interacted with at the grocery store. Like, you can improve your relations in general with all people by practicing some very simple but not necessarily easy to put into practice, but simple, like, shifts in perspective that come from the law of assumption. And what the law of assumption is that what you're assuming about your reality is what you're going to get back. That's what you're going to experience, right? It's just like that that phrase, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, because that's how our brains work, right? I've talked about this in another video, the reticular activating system. It's basically like one of the characteristics or qualities of our mind is that we decide that something is so, and then we just look for evidence that supports that belief. And unless we become consciously aware of that we're doing that, we're filtering out all of life, and we're experiencing that thing that we've decided is true. And this can be really toxic to our relationships, right? I just want to throw out this idea, like, whenever you met the person that you're currently in relationship with, when you first met them, you were so attracted to each other and you just thought that person was amazing, right? You weren't like looking for their flaws. You were jumping over red flags, right? You didn't look for everything that's wrong with them. You were excited and happy, and you were caught up in attraction, and it was a joyful energy that was like giving you lots of spice for life and happiness and good endorphins, right? And you were showing up with the best self that you could muster to interact with that person, right? You weren't being disrespectful and treating them like shit and being rude and looking for the worst in them and convinced that they were out to get you and looking through their phone to see if they're cheating. And like, you weren't behaving like that when you first met them, right? You were filled with innocence and like a positive outlook, and your expectation of that experience was positive, right? And what I'm going to suggest is that when you use the law of assumption to have positive expectations on your reality, you can also use that to have positive expectations about your interactions with people. And this will shift your experience in a lot of ways. So I just want to like bring you back to this idea that what we're actually doing when we're practicing manifesting is that we're kind of centering ourselves in our reality, and we're being like, what do I actually have control over? Like, obviously I don't have 100% control over my reality and my experience in life. There's going to be things that happen. You know, sometimes family members pass away unexpectedly. Sometimes you thought you were going in one direction and you end up having an experience that you weren't expecting, right? Like you lose a job you didn't think you were going to lose, or you lose a friend, or you lose a pet, or you have a notice come that you suddenly have to move out of your house because it's just been sold by the owners, or something's being built next to you, or do you know what I mean? These things in our reality happen that we obviously sometimes just have to like accept and surrender to, because we don't have control over that. So it's like, what do I actually have control over? And I want to put it out there to you that you actually have quite a bit more control than what you probably are currently like owning, because you have control over, you can choose what you choose to think about. You can choose how you look at things. You can choose how you show up, and you can choose how you respond to circumstances or other people or remarks or things that happen, right? That's actually a lot of power. That's probably like 80% control over your reality. That's a lot more than going through life seeing yourself as a victim of everything, always telling a narrative that you're the victim of every person who you interact with. You always telling yourself the story as if you're the victim of everything. You're always assuming that everybody else is out to get you, or is trying to hurt you, or sneaking around on you, or whatever, right? Like, we create a lot of our experiences through our perspective on things, and also our choice on how we show up and how we interact and how we interpret things, right? So there's a lot of power there, and that's kind of what I love to dive into, is this like, where is your power? Where do you have power? How can you drive the ship? You know, your navigation in life. Like, how can you navigate your boat out on the ocean of life when there's storms that come up, or there's a nice day? You maybe not having control over that, but you're certainly having a lot more power than you probably are taking on and working with, right? So again, I just want to say that if there are relationships in your life, whether it's very personal or very public, like for example, it could be a spouse or a family member or a roommate or a colleague at work. Those are like maybe more personal, where you're interacting with those people every day. Or it could be cultural, like outside your home, like, you know, are you interacting with people and having a certain experience of them because they're a different culture than you, or a different, like, culture can be different things, right? Culture could be like tribal, ethnic, racial, but it can also be like office culture. It can be like mom culture, or like, you know, all the mommies. When you become a mom and you start hanging out with all the other mommies, that's like a culture, right? A lot of women will talk about how when they first became a mom and they start hanging out with other mommies, like there was all these conflicts and things coming up that they hadn't expected. Or so that can be like a less personal, but a part of an aspect of our lives where we can experience some conflict or something, right? So what I'm bringing to the table is this idea that that your mindset and the perspective that you choose to put on every day before you show up and interact has a very large effect on how your reality plays out. And there's a lot of power in that, right? Chances are that if some things in your relationship have gotten sour that used to be good, you can still be the one who shifts the vibe. You can shift the vibe back to how it used to be by shifting how you're showing up and shifting what your perspective is on those people. And if you start examining yourself for the negative stories that you're running in the background about those people, whether it's personal or cultural, and how they think about you, because we tell ourselves stories about how other people think about us. Like, sometimes we go through life thinking people don't like us. We don't know what's going on in their head. Somebody could be having a bad day and be thinking about something that has nothing to do with you and get like kind of a stinky face or whatever, and it has nothing to do with you, you know? But if you're walking around with the idea that nobody likes you and everybody's against you or whatever, and then you see that, you're gonna like take that through your filter and use it as evidence for like, yeah, they really don't like me, they really don't accept me here, you know what I'm saying? So this is kind of the territory that I'm talking about playing around in. So I just want to bring this forward as that if you examine the stories that you're telling yourself about people around you, if you start examining those and picking them apart and realizing you've got a lot of negative stories running about the people around you, if you're willing to like deconstruct those stories and break them down and write new ones that are positive, and then just start playing the game of looking for evidence for the positive statements, you can shift the vibe. So it's something to play with, okay? Because in the beginning, you might not believe that that's possible. Like you might just think, no, those stories I'm telling in my head are true. Like them's the facts, you know? But they might not actually be the facts. Like that you might just have been convincing yourself that them's the facts because you're looking for evidence. And it's been a long time that you've been looking for evidence to build up that those things are true. You could have been doing it for 10 years, 20 years. You could have been doing it for your whole life, right? So, the challenge is to come back to yourself and to begin like questioning those assumptions and then changing them on purpose to positive ones about what you want to experience as true, and begin looking for evidence of that. And then the other thing that you do is you kind of like reinforce that positive stuff in your reality. So if you changed your assumption from something negative, like, you know, that person doesn't like me every single time I go into that store, that clerk is always like really rude to me or whatever. If you just change the story to, you know, that person is just stressed and it has nothing to do with me, you may find that when you go into that store, suddenly like it doesn't bother you what's going on with that person. And it's not making your day bad, and you're not reinforcing the story in your head that people don't like you in your neighborhood or whatever. I'm just giving an example, right? But, so I want to talk about how you can use this in your significant relationships to get back to like a better place than where you've gotten, if it's gotten sour. And I want to put out there something about dating and relationship advice that's really stinky and underhanded, kind of like low grade toxic, that's just going on social media so you can just see it. And it's that kind of like the technique that I observe being used on social media. And this is just like popular American culture right now, right? It might not be true 10 years from now. It might not have been true 10 years ago. But what I observe is kind of the common way of looking at relationships right now on social media from like relationship coaches, dating coaches. It's like looking through the perspective that the person, the ex, the guy, the woman, that they're like out to do you wrong, that they're intentionally hurting you, like they're doing it on purpose. You're the victim of them and their behavior. Looking for things that they're doing that offend you, and kind of building a mental list of all the stuff they do that you don't like, don't prefer, and take offense to, i.e. they're wrong, ways that they're wrong, ways that they're inferior to you, ways that they are like mentally ill, because it's a trend right now to like diagnose people and like call them a mental illness, right? They're a narcissist. It's huge, super trendy, right? To call men narcissists. Like he's a narcissist. And he's doing all these things that are emotionally abusive to me. And I was the victim of him for 15 years and his abuse, right? This is super trendy right now. Building like this mental list of all the things that you can diagnose or label as wrong about someone else that puts you in a position where there is an unexamined superiority complex, where you're not actually looking at yourself at all. Like, you're not even in the equation. You're just the victim of all this stuff that this bad person over there is, and you build a huge list of everything you can find wrong with them, and then you gather as much evidence as you can to support all that, and then you ultimately use it to convince yourself and everybody else that you need to end that relationship with that inferior, bad, mentally ill, toxic person. And that's the relief, because wonderful you, wonderful, unappreciated, abused you gets freedom from that bad, horrible, narcissistic, mentally ill, nasty, toxic cheater. This is like the culture of dating advice in the States right now. And it's built on this idea that, like, we don't examine ourselves. Like, there's nothing wrong with us. Like, we have no flaws. We have no faults. It's never our fault. There's nothing, we never contributed anything to any of those conflicts. We don't even look at that. It's all them. They're this, and I have all this evidence of this huge evidence. Okay, so from a law of assumption point of view, that thing you're doing itself is a problem. Can you see it? Like, that approach to other people and to relationships is the problem. The approach itself, the way of looking at relationships, that's a problem. The unexamined biases of, I'm the victim of them, I never examine myself, it doesn't even occur to me that I could be doing anything wrong or have any faults or any flaws. It's them, they're the problem, look at the list I've got. Okay, so I just want to put it out there that you're never going to get a good relationship if that is how you are doing relationship. Like, it's not possible. Because you're looking through a lens on the world and on reality as other people are always doing stuff that upsets me, that's wrong, that's bad, that's inferior to where I'm at developmentally, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And they're the problem, and I have to have boundaries to protect myself from all of that. And in general, when you're coming from that point of view, you're showing up like a porcupine in life. Like, you're prickly. You're not warm and soft and inviting and playful and fun. You're not approachable. You never let anything slide. Your standards are that people have to be perfect, but not perfect according to what they might think perfect is, perfect according to what you think perfect is, which is usually whatever you think you are, right? But you're not. There's a big illusion there. You're not perfect. We're all human. We all have like a mixed bag of like great sides of ourselves and broken parts and traumas and, our own like negative thoughts that we can get sucked into listening to, and bad days and having low energy or whatever. Like, that's a mixed bag of every human being out there. And if you can't give yourself accountability for what you bring to the table, or put any energy into getting to know yourself, how can you expect someone else to see you as perfect and do everything they can to meet your needs all the time? And like you're not coming to relationship with any kind of clarity on like how to show up for other people, or having any kind of real skills for relating to others in society in general. Can you see it? So the beginning of having good relationships with other people is kind of having the ability to have a correct perspective in general on what it is to be human, and the fact that you are human and you have flaws and you have blind spots. Actually, there's things that you do that you aren't aware of. There's ways you show up. There's facial expressions you make. There are reactions, knee-jerk reactions you have to stimulus in your environment that make you sour and come off rude and come off very uncompromising or very impolite to other people. And you're not aware of all that. That's like your big blind spot, right? And if you can't see that other people sometimes are not at their best, and you're taking everything personally all the time and building a laundry list of how they're bad, and it's evidence of how they're a nasty, mentally ill person who's unworthy of love or respect, like, you can't build loving, fun, playful, reciprocal relationships with other people based on those kinds of approaches to life. So I want to put it out there that the first thing to do if you want to improve your relationships with other people is to stop listening to all of the dating, coaching, relationship advice on social media that's being put out there. It's saturating social media right now. Don't listen to any of it, because it's all trash. Because it's coming from a perspective that does not foster good relationships between people. Seeing other people as someone you can't trust because inherently men are, or inherently women are. You can't build anything on that foundation except miserable experiences. If you can't find empathy for other people by knowing yourself so well that you've seen all the ways that you mess up, all the ways that you get tired, fall down, mentally listen to negative thoughts that drag you into dark places, if you haven't gotten to know yourself inwardly, accurately, then you can't give grace to other people when they show up like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like a circle. Law of assumption causes you to turn inwards, to examine yourself and to really take stock of what's going on in there, and then to consciously make changes. If you aren't doing that inner work, you don't have any wisdom or grace to give anybody else, right? Can you see it? It's like, I want to give you a couple of examples of some of the things I've seen online and just kind of shift your perspective a little bit. Okay, so one of the things that I see just kind of running as a kind of a common through line through all of the content that I see that's coming through my FYP, it's like, in general, women having like adopted a stance of, well, I'm unhappy. You're making me miserable. I'm miserable and it's your fault. I'm unhappy and you need to be doing everything you can to make me happy. And if you don't, I'm going to be sour to you. I'm pissed, and I'm going to stay pissed, and I'm going to be pissed to you until you shape up. Okay, that's not love. That's sour as fuck. That is trashy, nasty, childish, miserable behavior that if anybody was on the receiving end of how you're showing up when you're in that vibe, no one's going to want to be around you. They're not going to want to stick around and absorb as much of that sour BS as they can to prove how much they love you. and keep kissing your ass while you treat them with that no. No one's going to want to stick around for that. Okay? So that is just kind of a common sour, entitled, shitty disposition that women are adopting, like, as the standard for how they show up in relationships. It's like, I'm miserable. It's your fault because you're not doing. You didn't do what I wanted on Valentine's Day. You only did this. You didn't do this, this, and this. I wanted this, this, and this, and you didn't do it. You didn't show up the way I wanted for our date. You didn't call me for this. You didn't text me back fast enough. You didn't. Okay, can you see it? I'm pissed. It's your fault because you didn't do all these things that I want you to do, that I expect you to do in order to prove to me that you value and respect me and appreciate me and love me. And so I'm going to be a miserable, cantankerous bitch to you to try to get you to change your behavior and turn around and start doing the things I want and being loving towards me. Can you see how that is just not going to work? Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of that. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of that. Not your kids, not your female friends, nobody. Not the clerk in the grocery store, and definitely not your boyfriend or your husband. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of a woman who's acting like that. That's not fun. Did you show up like that on your first date? Is that who you were? Is that why he fell in love with you? Because you were treating him like that? Guaranteed no. Right? Examine these kinds of things. I want to give you another example. I was watching TikTok this morning. I wrote this one down so I wouldn't forget. I saw a video in my FYP today where a woman was like complaining. Like, a lot of TikToks are just like, honestly, just people show up in front of the camera and just start complaining about stuff and see like if they can get random strangers to like them up to 17,000 likes to like reinforce that their perspective is correct. There's a lot of that on TikTok, right? So I saw this woman on there today. She was complaining that she used to get a lot of like attention from men, like for how she looked. And then she decided to like have a glow up and go to the gym and like get like the gym body look, like the super toned, muscular abs whole thing. And that now she doesn't get attention from men anymore. Like, she doesn't understand why. And there were all these women writing in that were saying, that's because you got disciplined and doing this and this, and men don't respect you anymore. Like, it was so sour. Like, it was like probably like hundreds of thousands of angry, bitter, sour women came out of the woodwork to comment on that post. And I was just like, wow, okay, let me give you an example of how I see that and another way to look at that. First of all, in general, everybody, no matter what gender you're choosing to live out, can I just start by saying we all have masculine and feminine polar energies inside us, no matter whether we were born biologically female or male, okay? And so if you're choosing to live out a gender that isn't the same as your biological sex, all you're doing is going more into that energy and expressing yourself through that in life, okay? That's all that's going on. You cannot change the basic polarity in our reality of masculine and feminine energies. They're polarities, okay? They're polarities. It doesn't matter what you choose to live out. If you're in a same-sex relationship, there's still going to be one who's more on one side and the other on the other side to create chemistry. That's what creates chemistry, okay? So we all have masculine and feminine energy inside of us. You need to be coming from some kind of basic understanding of polarity of energies and what they are, so that you can know like where you are on the spectrum and who you're attracted to, and like how to move on that spectrum to increase polarity when you want to increase attraction. Okay, that's just very standard. Like, masculine energy is like, I'm just going to use the sexual genitals as the basic core example of this, because a male body goes out and a woman's body goes in. There's literally an active force and a receiving energy in nature, in life, in reality. It's part of the creative process. It doesn't matter what you're choosing to live out. You just need to be doing it consciously, right? You need to be choosing, like, I feel most comfortable living through my feminine energy, or I feel most comfortable living through my masculine energy. And then I'm attracted to someone who has the opposite of that, whatever that is. If you want to increase chemistry, you have to increase the polarity, you have to increase the tension, right? So this woman was attractive to men visually with her body. And then she started becoming crazy, hyper disciplined, going to the gym every day, lifting weights, making her body toned, burning off all her body fat, becoming lean and having muscle and defined abs. That's masculine. That's masculine energy. The masculine energy is the part of us that has discipline, routine, a to-do list, organization, showing up with determination, less emotional, gets a body that is strong with a lot of muscles and visible abs. That's masculine energy. She went full on into masculine energy, and then she no longer was attracting masculine men. So, like, just there needs to be some kind of a basic understanding that polarity is created by the tension of opposite energies. And, you know, the thing is, she'll start attracting guys that are more in their feminine energy if she's more masculine, right? And you see this in relationship complaints. Like, people will complain about, like, I've seen men being like, well, women don't like nice guys. Well, like, okay, let's break that down. If you're a nice guy, all that means is you're expressing more of your feminine energy and less of your masculine energy. It doesn't mean women don't like nice guys. It means feminine women aren't attracted to you because you're expressing a lot of feminine energy right now. And that's too much of the same energy. If you want to increase chemistry, you have to work with polarity, which means you have to go more into your masculine energy to attract women that are more in their feminine energy. Those two polar opposites attract. If you're a man who's in more of his feminine energy or expressing more than 50% of his personality, he's expressing through his feminine energy, he's going to attract gay men, masculine women, masculine energy women, right? And a lot of the problems that people are having in relationships are due to the breakdown of, like, sexual chemistry. Like, oh, we're in a long-term relationship over time and, like, the sex went away. Well, you're like, how are you doing on the polarity scale? It's very easy to fix. You can fix it in 3 days to a week, guaranteed. All you have to do is become aware of where are you at in your energy internally. Are you really in your masculine right now as a woman? Are you busting balls at work? Are you really in your masculine energy? Are you overachieving? Are you just diving into the masculine side is what I'm saying. Are you focused on your career? Are you going to the gym every day? Are you making lists? Are you in your head? Are you driving and achieving and accomplishing goals and handling the finances and bossing people around? Are you leading your whole family? Are you bossing the kids around, bossing your husband around? Are you being a leader? Are you taking charge? Are you wearing the pants? It's gonna kill the sexual chemistry in your marriage if you're married to a man who wants to be in his masculine if you go too far into your masculine energy, because it's gonna decrease his sexual attraction to you. It's not personal, okay? It's not personal. Just know what it is and just move back into the spectrum. Doesn't mean you have to give up your career. Just start putting some of your energy into your feminine side. And when you're with your man, be coming from your feminine energy. He wants feminine energy to balance out his masculine energy. He's going to be attracted to you when you're in your body and you're taking a bubble bath and you come out and you put music on and you're dancing around the living room and wearing flowing clothes and you're feeling happy and you're not thinking about lists and you're having a glass of wine and you're letting go of that energy of, this is what needs to happen next, this is what we're doing, this is what I did all day, what are you doing, right? You gotta work the polarity in your favor, and that's for everyone. That's for everyone. That's for anyone. It doesn't matter where you choose to live on the spectrum of polarity. Understand how polarity works. Understand what those two energies are, where they are inside you, and be able to pour more of your energy into one side or another when you need to move yourself on that scale so that you can increase the sexual chemistry with your person again if it's starting to go away. Okay? So I just want to throw that out there. And that's, how is that law of assumption? Because law of assumption is really just about taking your power back where you have it, right? It's like, where do I have power in my life? Where can I affect things in my life? I want to bring this up. Being a manifester and being a conscious creator is not about being an evil tyrant puppeteer. Okay, because one of the other things that I'm seeing on social media everywhere is if people start being like so pissed off at the opposite sex that they start being, well, fuck men. Let me give you both sides of this because it's rampant right now on social media. Women are saying things like, men don't give a shit about us. They only care about how we look and how we make them feel. So fuck them. And then they put all their energy into flawlessly creating their exterior to the maximum effect to trigger men's lust. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying you're not allowed to do it. I'm not making a moral judgment on it. I'm just telling you what they're doing and why. Okay? And then what they do is they teach women, put all your energy into maximizing how you look visually to maximally trigger men's lust instincts to have power over them, and then be ruthless in extracting what you want from them, i.e. money, right? So then there's this whole movement of women coaching other women to become dark femme, black cat, gold diggers, right? Like, and at the root of it is they got really hurt by some man in some relationship at some point that they just swore off on men and they don't trust them anymore and they think they're horrible human beings, right? And so now they have gone completely into power dynamics, manipulation, domination, and control, and it's a constant fucking chess match, okay? And the other side of that, men also have been doing this. It's the whole red pill movement. Women are just manipulative. I'm not even going to say that word, but you know what I'm saying. They'll cheat on you. They'll take all your money. They'll divorce you. They'll leave you penniless. They'll steal everything that you worked so hard to build. They'll take your kids away, right? And those men are like, I'm never going to trust a woman again. And so they become like players, right? Only put all your energy into working on creating your finances and your own material legacy and cut yourself off emotionally from women and only go and use them for sex, and just know how to get what you want, to get the sex you want, by lying to them, by telling them what they want to hear, by whining and dining them within the budget that you're willing to spend, and never give them commitment and never trust them, right? So you've got these two groups right now that are like, it is super trending, okay? It's trending hardcore in America, and it's just like saturating social media right now. But that's not love, okay? It's not love. It's like you take your broken heart from that bad experience you had, and you don't resolve any of that, and you don't learn, and you don't grow. And instead you just block it off, and you shift into this new vibe where you're gonna use strategy and be completely selfish, and you become like this evil tyrant puppeteer of your reality, where you're always in control and you always have the upper hand, and you just manipulate people to get your needs met. Okay, and I just want to put that out. I'm a teacher, okay? So I just want to put this out there. That's toddler behavior. That's toddler behavior. That's how toddlers act. That's the terrible twos. That's the level that you're operating at. You're trying to get your needs met by manipulating everybody around you in being the center of the universe. There's nothing emotionally mature or warm about that. You know? That I don't think that's a good way to use your time here. We don't have a lot of time here in our lifetime. Whether you believe in reincarnation or that it's just the end, that reset button gets hit real soon. You could get cancer, you could get hit by a car, you could, even if you live till old age, we don't have a lot of years here. Like, you've got one shot. Being a gold digger until you run out of looks, because we age. I mean, you can extend it with plastic surgery, but at some point you're not going to be beautiful. I just don't think that's the best dating or relationship advice to follow. Becoming like the tyrant who's always got the upper hand, who's always in control in order to protect and guard your heart from ever getting hurt again. You just basically don't have any skills. You don't understand what happened in that relationship that didn't work out, and you're pissed about it, and you're just not moving on. Like, let's be real. Let's not go that route, okay? So what I'm trying to present is that the way that we approach relationship with other humans in general, the way that we approach them has a huge impact on what we're going to experience. And I just want to suggest that using the principles that I talk about on this channel and that other people talk about with manifestation, with law of assumption, I think it's a better way to live life while you're here. Like, it's just a better way to identify where you have power to, make positive changes in your life experience. And that it's, like, instead of being the evil tyrant puppeteer, like, how about being, like, more lighthearted and playful and, like, fun? Like, on your deathbed, you might be glad you chose to be lighthearted and playful and warm and fun. Our reality might be a little better for everybody living in it if you were more like that, right? Like, your relationships with everybody, from the grocery store clerk who might just be having a bad day or might not have gotten to sleep last night, or your partner who showed up with roses and didn't take you to the restaurant you wanted and do the Valentine's thing that you think he ought to have. Like, if you could just like have grace for people and like see them as they are and like appreciate what they're showing up with for you, like receiving it and receiving them and being open to them, and being willing to give yourself and other people grace for just humanity, for the fact that we get tired and things don't always go our way, and sometimes we listen to the negative thoughts in our head and it takes us down a bad tunnel for a few hours or a few days or a few years. That we have the power in our reality to take control over that and to choose what thoughts we're entertaining, and thus what emotions we're stirring up and like making larger, and the views, the lenses through which we're viewing other people and interpreting their behavior, and the way that we're showing up and speaking and the expressions on our face and how we're bringing up like something for someone else to handle and deal with. Like, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to have a more happy, playful, fun day. Could you change the stories you're telling yourself about the people in your life and look for evidence of all the ways that they're trying to love you and trying to make you happy and trying to add joy to your life, or trying to make your life easier, or trying to do things to help you out? Could you look at everyone in your life through a lens of, they love me, they like me, they're trying to help me out, they're trying to make my life easier, they're trying to do something for me, they're trying to give me something to make me smile, they're trying to make me laugh, they're trying to connect with me, they're making an effort to try to repair things between us? Could you take those perspectives and statements and look for evidence of those things to improve your relationships with other people, instead of listening to all the stuff on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook? America is not the happiest culture right now. It's not the happiest country in the world to live in. It's not the most loving, friendly, heartwarming place to be. They're fighting amongst themselves so badly. They're destroying their country inwardly, politically, and destroying their relationships with other countries globally. I wouldn't be listening to their relationship advice right now. And I certainly wouldn't believe that any of the things that those influencers are yammering about on TikTok and Instagram, that those people have good relationships or know how to have a lifelong lasting relationship with someone else till you die that is in good standing, where both people are happy and like the other person and have good things to say about them. So if you're interested in doing more work in this area, where I study and where I get a lot of the ideas that I'm working with in my own life and talking about is from this book. It's called The Empowered Wife. It's by a woman named Laura Doyle. She was a woman who had trouble in her marriage and was facing divorce, and she decided to go and find couples who had been married for more than 15 years and just ask them what would, people that were actually happily married for a really long time. Well, 15 years isn't even that long, but where both people liked each other and had good things to say and they were happy. Like, she asked them, like, what do you do? And then she kind of created like a set of skills that she teaches. So I'm not married. You don't have to be married to like read what her basic relationship skill set is. But I think everybody in our generation around Western English speaking countries right now would sure benefit from just some basic relationship skills that you could put into practice in your relationships, in your life, in your family, and dating. And they're very basic principles that I think our generation has lost and forgotten, that maybe our grandparents' generations were still using, that are just really basic ways of how to like treat other people with respect and be polite, how to control how you show up for other people and give other people like a positive experience of interacting with you, how to like have manners again, and how to take care of yourself and meet your own needs so that you're not like a walking toddler in your life that's like being petulant and demanding and miserable and making everyone around you miserable and like spreading drama everywhere you go. Like, we don't want to be those kind of people, you know? And to actually care about other people and respect them at a basic level, even when they have differences with us. Like, to become a culture and society again where it's okay for us to have differences and we can still talk to each other and respect each other and interact with each other. I think that our generation and our world in the West needs to return to some basic relationship and relational skills. And so that's why I study them, and that's why I like to talk about them. And I like to put them together with the law of assumption, to put them into practice in my life, to create a better reality for myself and hopefully for the people who interact with me. And so if you're interested in reading what those skills are, or playing with them in your own life, practicing them in your own life and adapting them to your own philosophy and spiritual bent, whatever you have going on in your own interests, you can do that. And you can look for that book. She has a book on Amazon. She has a podcast too, I think, on Spotify and on Apple, whatever. I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know what it's called, but you know what I mean? There's like some kind of Apple podcast. I think her podcast is on there too. And even if the women in there are like married women of a different generation, like, you can adapt the skills to your own life. So you don't have to be married or you know, of their generation to be able to learn the skills and put them into practice. And I think it's something our generation really needs. So put that out there. Have a great day.